Since the discovery of the first dinosaur fossils, scientists have repeatedly revised their views on their appearance and behavior. These changes have been based on new scientific data, yet most people's perceptions of ancient reptiles are heavily influenced by Hollywood films and cartoons. The impact of popular culture on viewers' minds is so significant that no scientific discoveries can alter entrenched stereotypes. Meanwhile, filmmakers often rely on outdated information or, for the sake of artistic expression, resort to outright fantasy. Most of us have seen living dinosaurs in Steven Spielberg's iconic film Jurassic Park and its subsequent sequels. At the time, it seemed that the creatures were portrayed not only realistically but also in line with the scientific knowledge of that era. However, this turned out to be somewhat misleading. Let's attempt to debunk some of the main myths about dinosaurs using examples from this undoubtedly cult classic series. We'll start with a myth that isn't directly related to the film. There is a stereotype that dinosaurs were wiped out by a collision with a giant asteroid. This impact supposedly led to the immediate extinction of all dinosaurs. In reality, the meteorite's impact marked the beginning of a planetary-scale catastrophe. When the meteorite struck the ocean near what is now the Gulf of Mexico, a colossal explosion occurred, sending vast amounts of earth and debris into the atmosphere, blanketing extensive areas. These fragments and the shockwave undoubtedly obliterated all life within several thousand kilometers. Additionally, many creatures fell victim to a massive tsunami and the ensuing volcanic activity. However, it's unlikely that dinosaurs on the opposite side of the planet felt anything. They were ultimately doomed by climate change, and the extinction unfolded over approximately 200,000 years. The dust and volcanic ash that rose into the atmosphere triggered a nuclear winter. Temperatures on the planet began to drop, and without sunlight and warmth, many plants perished. Following this, herbivorous dinosaurs went extinct, and predators also faced significant losses. Nevertheless, some dinosaurs managed to adapt to the changing climate conditions, and their descendants still inhabit all continents today, even Antarctica. These modern creatures are ordinary birds, descendants of small feathered dinosaurs that had already developed warm-bloodedness by that time. When it comes to the presence of feathers on dinosaurs, this ties into a common myth. Popular culture continues to portray them as giant reptiles covered in scales, much like the skin of modern-day monitors. However, by the time the first Jurassic Park film was made, it was already known that many, if not all, dinosaurs had some form of feather covering. Although the name dinosaur includes a Greek word meaning lizard, it's not entirely accurate to call them reptiles. Dinosaurs were more closely related to birds or their ancestors. Even in the documentary series Walking with Dinosaurs, dinosaurs are depicted without feathers, but it's important to note that the scientists behind this remarkable project were not mistaken. The series was produced long before the presence of feathers on dinosaurs was proven. In the Jurassic Park films, we don't see a single feathered dinosaur. This was likely a choice made to create a more intimidating image of the predators hunting park visitors. Additionally, Steven Spielberg made some dinosaurs larger than they actually were. Imagine how comical it would be to see ceratopsians resembling oversized chickens, about 70 centimeters tall and weighing 20 kilograms. In the films, the main characters are fleeing from 2-meter-tall versions of a diminutive Tyrannosaurus rex, which can set clever traps and pick locks. However, the major myths created by Hollywood revolve around the most famous dinosaur of all, the Tyrannosaurus rex. In this film series, the T-Rex is portrayed as a bloodthirsty monster, and that's how it's perceived in the popular imagination. While it was indeed the largest terrestrial predator to ever walk the earth, it was also covered in feathers, and many myths about it have become deeply rooted in human consciousness. One misconception is that there's no escaping a T-Rex, even in a car. In various scenes of the film, characters attempt to outrun the T-Rex at full speed, with the monster hot on their heels. In reality, recent studies have shown that this giant couldn't run faster than 20 kilometers per hour. While it might have been able to make a short sprint of several dozen meters to catch its prey, its body was not built for sustained running. Some even speculate that it was more of an ambush predator or scavenger. The second misconception is that the Tyrannosaurus rex only pays attention to moving objects. In the films, there are often scenes where the T-Rex walks just a few meters away from characters who are frozen in fear, seemingly unnoticed. Viewers are led to believe that the T-Rex has poor eyesight and cannot distinguish stationary objects. However, recent studies have shown that its vision was significantly better than that of humans and could rival that of eagles. It's also important to remember that it could simply smell its prey, especially if it was scavenging. The third misconception relates to the fearsome roar of the T-Rex. In the films, it instills terror in everyone around with its intimidating growl, but this effect was intentionally created by sound designers to enhance the dramatic impact. In our perception, all dangerous predators emit terrifying roars. Sound effects specialists crafted this menacing roar by combining sounds from various animals. The base of the roar was actually a slowed-down recording of a baby elephant. As for the Brachiosaurus, its voice was provided by a regular donkey. The sounds made by the velociraptor were sourced from mating turtles. The filmmakers had to get creative, as the vocal apparatus of all living creatures consists of soft tissues, and no samples have survived to this day. It's likely that the sounds dinosaurs made were similar to those of their modern descendants, birds and crocodiles. However, these creatures produce far less intimidating sounds. Birds can chirp, click, and even hiss, while crocodiles make quiet noises reminiscent of a cat's purr. It's hard to imagine anyone being frightened by a croaking or clucking T-Rex. The main myth created by Michael Crichton, the author of Jurassic Park, is that science can bring dinosaurs back to life. The process of resurrecting prehistoric reptiles seems very scientific and plausible from the perspective of the average viewer. It appears that all it takes is to find a well-preserved DNA sample, and geneticists could clone dinosaurs just like in the movies. However, despite our desire to see living dinosaurs, DNA cannot survive for that long. At best, in the foreseeable future, we might see mammoths and saber-toothed tigers in zoos, as they went extinct relatively recently. The only scientific method for recreating dinosaurs involves identifying the necessary traits in the genes of modern birds. By the way, experiments in this direction are already underway, and researchers have made some progress. A group of scientists is attempting to create a so-called chickenosaurus by awakening dormant dinosaur genes in a regular domestic chicken. Thank you for watching this video to the end. You can learn about real attempts by scientists to bring dinosaurs and other historical animals back to life in other videos on our channel. Additionally, you can expand your knowledge about the actual behavior and appearance of many representatives from the age of dinosaurs and other extinct species.